about being associated with this congregation are the beautiful voices and spirits that we get to spend some time with. So what a perfect song for you to end your time with us. We will miss your gracious spirit, your kindness. You've been a true pleasure to have. May all your dreams come true. In 1992, Julia Cameron wrote a very useful book called The Artist's Way. The book is a guide to help people with a little artistic, creative recovery. The book teaches techniques and exercises to assist us in gaining a little more self-confidence in harnessing our creative talents and skills. Now, there are a number of exercises in the book, and they're used by the author to show an important connection between artistic creativity and a spiritual connection with God. The author, Julia Cameron, insists that creative inspiration is from and of a divine origin and influence, that artists seeking to enable creativity need to understand that and believe in it. She says this: God is an artist, so are we, and we can cooperate with each other. Our creative dreams and longings do come from a divine source, not from the human ego. Now, that book back in 92 proved to be very popular, so popular, in fact, it was a required text in both of my master's programs. At Phillips Seminary, it was one of the main texts in our sermon writing class, and I still turn to it often when I find myself stuck in a little theological conundrum and can't quite figure out how to express the sermon idea into a useful illustration. Now, so great was the success of that first book that in 2016, Cameron published a follow-up book called It's Never Too Late to Begin Again, Discovering Creativity and Meaning at Midlife and Beyond. And the purpose of this book is, as she says, it's the distillate of a quarter century's teaching. It is my attempt to answer what's next. What's next for students who are embarking on their second act. And Robin and I have decided to use this book for our summer sermon series because it deals with this idea of a second act. And many of us in this congregation are embarking on second acts, or have embarked on a second act, or maybe see a second act in our near future. We also chose it because we feel it would be a very good touchstone as we think about ways to begin reigniting our lives after our closed-in time of social distancing and quarantine. We believe the information and exercises in the book will help all of us reignite our creativity and find a closer spiritual connection to God from where that creativity comes from. It is not necessary for you to purchase the book. However, if you're interested, email us or call us, and we will get you the information on how to get the book. It's designed as a 12-week course aimed at defining and creating the life that you want to have as you redefine and recreate yourself. The book includes simple tools that will guide and inspire us to make the most of this time in our lives together. Robin and I will be refining and curating the tools and exercises as we move through the book. So that's why you don't have to have it. I would recommend, though, each Sunday having a journal or a pad of paper, pencil and pen at hand as we offer you ideas and simple exercises that might help you with reigniting the various topics in the book. And today's topic has to do with reigniting your sense of wonder. The part of us that creates is childlike. It is filled with awe, wonder, alertness to new experiences, and an ability to be mesmerized by the sensory wonders of our environment. The strange alien feeling to a world blanketed in newly fallen snow. Amazing scents that fill a well-tended to kitchen. Or the colors and splendor that fill our eyes as we look upon a Kansas summer sunset. Children discover things one step at a time. Tiny details can spark wonder, and they can get lost in it for hours. Have you ever known a child to be like this? I'd better finish up my playtime as dinner starts soon, right? Children get lost in their imagination for hours and hours. I have strong memories of myself of being lost in play with my tinker toys for long periods of time. Lost in my imagination as I created bridges and skyscrapers, spaceships. As we get older, we turn from the things of childhood, and this sense of wonder sometimes is one of those things. As Paul put it in his first letter to the church in Corinth, when I was a child, I spoke like a child. I thought like a child. I reasoned like a child. And when I became an adult, I put an end to childish things. And for many of us, that's that. We close the door on our wonderful childish imaginations and head into that world of adulthood and responsibilities. Yay. But one day we might find ourselves leaving that world of responsibilities and embarking on a new journey, whatever that new journey might be, a new career, retirement, whatever. If it is the journey to retirement, you might find yourself with time again then to fill with wonder and excitement. Unfortunately, many of us haven't realistically prepared ourselves for the sudden trauma that happens when we change our lives so dramatically. Many newly minted retirees find themselves a little depressed, adrift, unmoored. And this often leads them into about themselves. I should be doing so much better. It's a struggle sometimes to find enough self-compassion when retirement is what we're told we spent all of those years working towards. It is part of our deepest sense of self as members of this culture, this United States of America. Our sense of self is tightly aligned to our work. And when that work stops, we have an existential crisis. For if our work defines us when it's no longer there, then what are we? It is human nature to crave a sense of purpose. And without one, it is only natural that we might panic a little bit and feel adrift. When I turned 50 years old, I made a bold change in my life. I left the world of higher education, of which I had dedicated the previous 25 years of my life to, and I began a new journey with this community, this congregation. I admit, it took not a little courage on my part to do this. Leave a career that I was well established in and move into work that, while I knew I had a deeply felt call for, I wasn't sure if I possessed all of the necessary skills to be successful. So far, so good. I'll continue to let you all be the judge of my work with you. So, Julian Cameron wants us then to begin working on our memoirs. Now, that sounds like a really big project, but she makes it very simple. She wants us all to use a simple writing exercise to help us reignite our sense of wonder. For this first week, she asks us to kind of divide our life up into decades or 12 years, kind of just divide up into big chunks, and then to ask ourselves some questions of those time periods. So from that first decade of your life, here are your first set of writing prompts. Jot these ideas down, or I'll be happy to send you the sermon with them in it. All right, when you were a child, where did you live? Who took care of you? Can you recall your pets and their names, what they were? Write down your very earliest memory. I love this one. What was your favorite book when you first learned to read? Mine was from the Mixed Up Files of Mrs. Basil E. Frankweiler. It was the first time I ever remember getting lost in a fictive world of someone else's imagination. And I was right there with her and with those wonderful characters running away to the Metropolitan Museum of Art and having all those adventures. Some other things she asks. Can you describe a smell from that time of your life? Something evocative that when you smell it today, it sets off a powerful sense of nostalgia. For me, it is the smell of sizing in clothing. That smell is so tightly wound with the excitement of returning to school. Oh, how about this? Recall where you spent a family vacation. or a summer camp you went to. Begin exploring these memories and trying to find something to connect with from early in your life. It's kind of your first set of writing exercises there. Okay, there's this old maxim that goes like this. Do you know how old I will be by the time I learn to play the piano? The exact same age I will be if I don't. It seems that when we say to ourselves that it is too late for us to begin something or learn something new, what we're actually saying to ourselves is that we are not willing to be a beginner. The need to feel competent is so ingrained in us as a culture that we fear the loss of face and possible embarrassment that might come with looking foolish as we try a new endeavor. I say embrace your inner fool. When I switched over to my recumbent bicycle in March of 2016, I was incredibly nervous. I knew there was a learning curve ahead of me as my brain had to relearn this sense of balance on this new, strange machine. But I really wanted to do this, so I swallowed my pride and I accepted some help. Larry Bennett of KMUW had sold me the bike, and he wanted to make sure that I learned how to get going on it. So for one morning in early March of 2016, there were these two grown men over there on Spruce Street looking like complete fools as Larry would hold me up and I would fall over, and he would hold me up and I would fall over. Eventually I found my balance and I never looked back. But if I had allowed my fear of looking foolish to override my desire to learn how to ride my new bike, I would have never done so. And I think of the miles that I've run on that machine and the miles and miles ahead of me, tooling around Wichita's excellent bike paths, occasionally running into one of you and sharing a bit of a biking journey together, the immense pleasure I feel when I have completed a goal in one of my rides. What are you putting off or refusing to start because you are worried of looking the fool? Huh? I'll bet you something. Anyone who would think you foolish to try something new is maybe someone you don't need in your life, right? So Cameron gives us another task to do in her book. All right, here's your second task this morning. Make a list, number it from 1 to 5, and you're going to make 5 sentences, and you're going to start them each like this. If it weren't too late, I would. If it weren't too late, I would. And you're going to do that 5 times on your, and then you're going to fill in those 5 blanks. What would you do if you didn't think it was too late? Learn to cook a different cuisine? Learn to sew? Learn to play an instrument? To sing in our choir? To ride a recumbent bike? Fill out your list. It's that fear then, real or perceived, of looking foolish that causes us to back down from our dreams. We never try anything new. I mentioned that drive to be competent and how ingrained it is in all of us to show even the slightest level of incompetence or beginner's status is loath to us. For many of us, we have an inner negative voice, a censor, who inhibits us from even trying something new, sometimes even thinking about something new. The scenario goes like this. Oh, I would love to design clothes. You are too old to learn fashion design. I'd really love to design clothes. You're not fashionable. I think I'd like to try. What a waste of money. I can afford it. You're really a fool. Do you have that in your head sometimes? Do you have a censor stopping you from trying something new? I bet you that censor is sarcastic, maybe pokes fun at your dreams. The reality is this. That voice in your head, he's or she's the fool. It's the voice that needs to be shrunk and minimized until you can no longer hear it or feel its effects. Skepticism appears in many guises, and yes, sometimes it is a useful tool in keeping us out of trouble. But too often, it keeps us from even beginning to realize a dream. Let's say this. You said to yourself once, you know, when I was younger, I really enjoyed acting, and once I have more free time, I'd like to try it again. And then you never audition because of that voice, that fear of looking foolish. So you never make the time, and then you never actually go to an audition. Wichita Community Theater and Signature Theater, all these community theaters around town are the birthplaces of many foolish dreams. People show up with little or no experience. They usually land a small role, and the next thing they know, they are part of Wichita's vibrant theater scene. Dwayne can speak to this better than I can, as it happened to him recently. A few years ago, he told me that he would like to act again. He had acted in high school. In fact, that's where we met. But he had moved into dance for his performance medium, and he hadn't acted in many years. I told him, go audition. And he took a deep breath, and he did so. And he started getting roles. He suddenly found his acting talents in demand, and last summer he came home with his first professional acting contract, and we were both pretty thrilled about that. Last summer, Dwayne made his professional acting debut in Roxy Downtown's production of Love, Valor, and Compassion. And he was nominated for the Mary Jane Teal Award for Best Supporting Actor. He went that far in a few short years. Cameron wrote in her book that many blocked people are actually very powerful and creative personalities who have been made to feel guilty about their own strengths and gifts. So she gives us a really nice tip, a tool to help fight and shrink our censor. The primary one is this. Understand that your skepticism is rooted in fear, and that fear is healed by compassion. The first step towards being less critical of your dreams is to be gentle with yourself. And one of the best ways to begin being gentle with yourself is to practice active kindness in your everyday interactions, not only towards others, but towards yourself as well. The task Cameron gives us to help us be kinder to ourselves is to just write down 3 actions that you can take this week on your own behalf. Can you take an afternoon just for yourself and do something that you've put off? Is there a book you've wanted to read, but you haven't found the time to read it? I know we've just spent months in lockdown and we don't know what the future holds, but if there's something you intended to do but didn't do it, write it down. Make it come real. Carve out some time. Look at this world with wonder and joy and excitement and begin to dream again. As we begin to explore what life might look like after all of this, what is that's out there waiting that you want to do? What new dream is igniting in your spirit? Draw it out, look at it, and then start taking concrete steps to make it real. Those are your tasks this week. The God of life who inspires us wants no less from you. Amen.